Okay.
Next up is Bonnie Lynn de Bartok. Bonnie is the founder of the S Factor. Bonnie's also in a really unique position because Faskin's her lawyer too, so I know a little bit about what's going on. So I invited Bonnie to present today, even though she didn't win when she participated a few years ago, but she's made such tremendous strides since then that I wanted the community to know about it. So Bonnie, you've got your 10 minutes.
I'm unmuted, so there you go. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You can. Okay, great. So I'm going to play my presentation from the start to have a couple of slides with our update. Really appreciate the opportunity to let you know how things are going and to share some of the experience with entrepreneurs coming into this round of the competition. It's been quite a ride over the last couple of years, as you said. We also rebranded. So I actually can't remember if we were 18 or 19 runner-up or finalists. It's been such a blur, but we went by the name McCormick then, and so we've rebranded also. It is a huge undertaking. But so just to give you an update, we're an ESG data provider. ESG is environmental, social, and governance data that the responsible investment ecosystem uses to help inform ratings and decisions around investment or hedging risk and what have you. And 3 years ago, nobody knew what I was talking about. And now the entire world is talking about it. But what we don't understand is still the difference between one provider and another. And so our uniqueness is that we specialize on a very deep dive on social issues, which, as we all know now, COVID has pushed to the forefront. So, it essentially has catapulted our business into the limelight as a result of the vulnerabilities and the exposure of social management across companies and how they're treating their employees, and what's happening with their supply chain, what's happening with labor rights and human rights, and their companies' effects on their communities where they do business, etc. So I have an image here. This was produced by a group called NASA Data. They're out of London. This is basically the responsible investment ecosystem. It currently accounts for about 72 trillion in assets under management. And these are all the big players. In the last year, even a bit before COVID, we started to really take off. We went from a nobody to one of the top 5 players on the M&A landscape for the rating agencies and some of the world's largest asset managers. So we're playing a key role in 3 areas. Providing information for rating agencies like Morningstar and Refinitiv, and competing amongst some of the largest data players that have been around for a decade before us. We also do metric-specific monitoring. So this, from a technology perspective, plays a role in RegTech or compliance, but also FinTech in terms of quantitative analytics on behavioral monitoring specific to social issues, environmental and social issues. And then most notably, we are, one of the top 5 contenders on the M&A landscape in the ESG space very quickly. So 2021 is going to be a huge year for us. We have just closed some of the largest clients in the world, asset managers, hedge funds, pension funds in the world, who are looking for additional data sets to complement what they're currently working with. So we have a very exciting year ahead. Since TiE, we've gone on to win other competitions in the private asset management space. And again, with the Women in Influence being nominated for, I think it was my 7th or 8th consecutive year in a row, and Women in Wealth. We have been featured in Benefits Canada. We've been featured by Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Wealth Professional, Euromoney, Alternatives Watch. We've had a number of coverage quotes and or highlights on us in Morningstar, in the Globe and Mail. So we are getting a lot of traction now that people are focused on the social issues within the ESG space. There wasn't much talk about the S missing in ESG, and it's something that we've actually been doing for a very long time. And so we're getting a lot of attention for that, which is great. So half of our story is about taxonomy, which marries every social code, convention, and best practice in the regulatory environment around the whole world. This is something that investors are going to have to very quickly manage, especially as a result of the Biden win in the election in the US. The Americas will actually fast forward what the Europeans have been doing for 20 years in this space. And so they're all going to be required to do this. And so data providers are going to have to catch up with what that landscape looks like. We're processing, so that's half of our story is our taxonomy on social regulation. The other half of our story is about our technology. So through TI and, tons of connections. I mean, we're working with Fasken as our IP lawyers. In a corporate capacity, we're working with them on our vendor contracts, on our client contracts, on our employee contracts. I mean, we've got, and there's special review on a regular basis as we go back and forth, controlling IP and content that we're sharing with, some of these large players. The other half of our story is about technology. And so our IP is rules-based algorithms, and it's code which allows us to process huge amounts of information against the rules that we have designed. And so we're processing something like 82,000 sentiment scores a day. We're also processing about 1.3 million ESG data points a day that are qualified as financially material and evident of performance for these companies. We cover the entire public equities market. We cover every fund in North America and every ETF in the world. So we're getting into fund analytics on performance and risk exposure, which is really great. So I think I mentioned, we're marrying codes and regulations across, social requirements. So if you think about what's trending now, diversity and inclusion beyond gender, well, what are you measuring? And where are you going to get that information? And are companies disclosing? Do they even know what to disclose to have that conversation? We're moved beyond the token female seat at the board level as a check the box exercise, and we're moving into accountability and accessibility and visibility across organizations. And then we're proving out the business cases quantitatively as to why it's beneficial for companies to do this. So what's the ROI on that? So we have the largest number of social indicators across the whole world in ESG. So that's pretty exciting. So that's what clients are coming to us for now. And as we see the way the world is shaping up post-COVID, it's going to become more and more important. So we have created, custom drag and drop UIs regardless of strategy. So some investors are seeking alpha, and they want to look at best in class across a number of segments. Some investors are looking for compliance, and they want to just ensure that their investments are compliant with these rules, and they can filter by that. There's thousands of queries that investors can run and customize to whatever their platform is. We have API capabilities, so we can do high frequency feeds into the financial institutions. And we also have desktop custom report capability where the clients can just play around with queries on themes or frameworks or regions or industries or market caps, and they can play around. It's all automatic. So it is a machine learning, natural language processing, and AI based product. It is a big data product. It plays in the reg tech space and the fintech space. So that's really where we are. I mean, if we start to think about how you apply this and what the future is looking at, you think about comparing Walmart to IKEA, for example, on supply chain and labor and human rights. There's a very big contrast in terms of how those companies do business and what the return on investment is over time based on that. So, I mean, I have some business cases here, but I've lost my little timer here. I don't know if I'm over, but essentially our best in class, we sell scores and ratings and profiles and benchmarks and all of that. But we also have an index product, which currently outperforms the MSCI's ACWI and S&P 500 year to date. And what it demonstrates is that companies with the strongest social management systems in place that are evident and traceable and accountable are outperforming the market, and they were most resilient throughout COVID this year. And it's global. It's a global coverage. So we have many other, analysis. We, in March, actually had to do a very quick pivot. We were just launching our product finally after 2 years of development, right at the onset of COVID in Canada. And so we did a pivot quickly to look at how companies were managing their employees, their ethics, their supply chains, and community impacts throughout this. So this turned into a high frequency daily monitoring process where we were able to get into predicting stock price movement based on how companies were behaving, what they were saying versus what they were doing. So companies would launch campaigns that they were doing one thing, and then we would get, 90,000 hits on Twitter and social media and blogs and multiple languages that would tell us a different story, and we could start to predict the movement of which way they were going to go. We put out a report in April that looked at 45 of the largest holdings across 108 ESG or impact funds across the whole world, GEM, Europe, and the Americas, across industry. We're looking at insurance companies, we look at financial institutions, we're looking at retailers, we're looking at pharmaceuticals. We were watching what they were doing versus what they were saying, and we were watching what their policies had said that were in place versus their behaviors and how they were enacting it. We had some companies which were completely downplaying the severity of COVID. We had other companies in the same industry use the exact opposite approach and completely look after, mobilize their employee population. One company did, I think it was Ping An Insurance. This was our favorite case. They mobilized 1.5 million people within a matter of weeks, and they were able to test 5,000 individuals for free with a 90% accuracy rate and get everybody to safety. And they had all their programs and protocols in place, and they completely enacted them. And their stock price, if you look at it today, this is cut off in early, but they have outperformed over time as a result of looking after their people in their community, whilst the others have actually gone in the opposite direction and are facing class action lawsuits around labor and health and safety issues for having been forced to come to work and the severity of COVID being downplayed. So it's very, very telling on how companies treat their employees.
So Bonnie, this is great stuff, and I know you got more to tell, but we've run out of time, and I have to be the time cop, which
okay.
which I hate to do, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it as charmingly as I can. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We hopefully have some time at the end for some ongoing discussion. But suffice it to say, Bonnie, you're rocking it, and it's exciting to see, and we're really happy for you. It's I know you for a long time, and you're an overnight success over 25 years.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you, because it's a long time coming and well deserved.
Thank you.